In several videos now, we've covered the evolution of various forms of grain that have taken form following the agricultural revolution, and their importance to history. From porridge, to flatbreads, to leavened breads, to beer, and to pasta. The cereal grain has had many forms through history, but one of its earliest forms of being ground into a paste and cooked into a porridge has been a staple for nearly all of human history. Relatively simple and effective, it still requires a fair amount of prep and cook time. And as humanity advanced towards the modern age in the 1800s, new innovations were made to transform porridge into the many wide varieties of cold cereals we have today. What we eat today comes from generations of trial and error, accidental discovery, and an ever-expanding trade. We're exploring the origins and the history of some of our favorite foods of today, as well as the tools that were invented along the way to make them. My name is Andy, and this is How to Make Everything. But first, a word from our sponsor, Magic Spoon. Face it, you love cereal. If you've been avoiding it because it's too sugary or your mom won't let you, don't feel guilty any longer. Take a trip down memory lane with Magic Spoon cereal, the healthy alternative to the competition. The variety pack comes with 4 delicious flavors: cocoa, fruity, frosted, and peanut butter. Here I have frosted. Let's give it a shot. It's pretty good. Hard to believe this is actually healthy because that was really sweet, really tasty, and not overly sweet, which is really nice. The secret is allulose, a rare sugar found in figs and maple syrup. It tastes just like regular sugar, but it has almost zero glycemic impact and almost 0 calories. Magic Spoon cereals have 0 grams of sugar, around 14 grams of protein, and merely 4 net carbs in each serving. Only 140 calories. Click the link in the description to get $5 off your first order. They have a 100% satisfaction guarantee, so you cannot lose here. Very tasty. Thank you to Magic Spoon for sponsoring this video. For most of its time, oats were considered horse food and unpleasant to eat, until the mid-1800s when a German immigrant named Ferdinand Schumacher experimented with grinding oats by hand and packaging them into small square blocks. His oatmeal was much faster to cook than other porridges and was much more palatable than regular cooked oats, and as a result quickly took off. In 1877, they adopted the mascot of a man in a Quaker garb, establishing the Quaker Oats brand we know today. The first cold breakfast cereal was invented in this same period by nutritionist James Caleb Jackson. He made a dough from graham flour and rolled it into sheets, baked it, broke it into smaller chunks, baked it again, and rolled it into even smaller chunks. He called it granula, and it was described as large, tough nuggets that you had to soak overnight to eat. It never really took off. But also around 1877, John H. Kellogg, a physician who ran a sanitarium in Michigan, began experimenting with making softer breakfast food for his patients with missing teeth or dentures. He and his brother Will found a dough mixture of wheat, oats, and corn that they could bake at high temperature, then break down into small crumbs that would quickly absorb moisture and become soft. They initially also called it granula, but changed its name to granola to avoid a lawsuit from James Jackson. It quickly became popular, and they started selling it commercially. They continued to experiment with the cereal mixture, and as the story goes, John Kellogg was working with a batch of wheatberry dough one night and was called away for something important and forgot about it. The next day, he didn't want to waste the dough and sent it to the factory rollers anyways. What came out were small flakes of the tempered dough, which could then be baked, creating Kellogg's Corn Flakes. Over the next decade, Kellogg's Corn Flakes took the world by storm. It was inexpensive, easy to prepare, and by packaging it in boxes, it was also sanitary. But the Kellogg brothers had disagreements about what to do with their corn flakes, so when Will suggested adding sugar to the flakes to make them more marketable, John absolutely refused. This started a rift between them that led to Will founding his own company, which eventually became the Kellogg cereal brand. And from here, the breakfast cereal was born, eventually expanding to the countless variety of cereal available today. We're gonna eat some corn. Unfortunately, the corn I planted this year is still not quite fully mature. But last year, I grew some corn as a part of a Three Sisters experiment, replicating the Native American technique of growing corn, beans, and squash together, and still have flint corn left over from that. So this is the end result of the Three Sisters growing experiment we did here. It's now snowing, so you can tell it's probably a good time to harvest. So we got a few different flint corn here. This one's got a little bit of smut on it, which is actually kind of a delicacy. Look at that smut. Right on the stalks, we have a few of the different beans. They never really got too high. Got a couple here. And then we also have, for ground cover, a few different squashes. We got this guy right here. I think you get too big. This red flint corn.
So in order to make our Frosted Flakes, we need to get cornmeal. First step of that, getting these kernels off the cob. Slowly. So we got it shucked, and now it is time to pulverize. Make some cornmeal. I'm ready. Feel great over there.
Now for a source of sugar, to grow sugar beets. All right, so I got some sugar beets here we can process to make actual sugar. Here's one.
And welcome. Today we're going to be taking the sugar beet, chopping it up into little pieces, and extracting the sugar from it. So once we cut it down small enough, we're going to boil it and reduce the sugar out of it. Hi, Bubba. You got a little itch? So this looked a lot better before it oxidized. But here are the beginnings of these sugar beets.
To extract and boil the sugar from the beets, we're gonna need a sturdy boiling vessel. I've had a lot of challenges with our ceramic pots breaking, so I think it's time to upgrade to a metal pot with some assistance from Adri.
So we're back in my shop today because the ceramic bowls that we try to boil water in keep breaking. So Andy has asked me to try and forge a metal one. I'm not an armorer, and working with thin sheet metal isn't something that I do a lot. So we have a pre-prepared blank here, and we're going to see if we can raise a wok. As we go around, I'm pushing the edges up to make that initial form. It doesn't have to be super hot, because this is mostly cold work, but it is still 700, 800, 900 degrees Fahrenheit. It's very warm on your hands. As it rolls up, we either get these little kinks or it raises in the middle. We can keep moving around the sides to get that nice curved wok shape. I just wonder if I could just set it on the ground and hit it like this. Kind of. I have no clue what I'm doing. But yeah, that's evening it out. Ooh, really, really hot. Keeps getting closer. This is really hard. Is this working or is it making it worse? I do not know. I really have no clue how to do this. That's working, I think. Do you think we're gonna get it any better than that? Start to form that wok handle. They're not going to match on the outside, but that's fine. There we go. That's going to hold great. There's one rivet done, free to go. Second side is riveted. There we go. That's a wok. It looks like something you would buy at like the shittiest farmer's market ever, but I mean, it looks like something you would at least buy. It's not just like in the trash. So there's that. I mean, I can't be too mad for a first time with this. It looks like the thing we were trying to make. This, for some reason, was so difficult, because I pretty specifically make knives, swords, and bludgeons, and then small trinket items. It was a challenge, but at least it was a fun challenge. I'm exhausted.
Lastly, we'll need a few ingredients we've collected and made in past videos. Milk, which we've previously churned into butter, and salt.
Alright, now that I ground down the corn to make cornmeal, gotta assemble the flakes. We're gonna add some water and a little bit of butter, roll it into a dough, and eventually press it into the corn flakes. We'll start with a cornmeal base. Add some milk and it's done. That's good. Okay, so it doesn't seem to be binding very well at all, so a little baker's trick here with the egg. Boink. Okay, yeah, it's definitely feeling better now. All right. Ooh, okay. Woo! It's making some really promising sizzling noises. Oh yeah, these are moving. Oh, yes. Oh my gosh. All the haters said it couldn't be done. Nobody said that. Oh, there's some rock in that one. Fortified with real rocks. I think I gotta press them right away too. Oh, lovely. Yes. Where's my corn cob? Hand me the cob.
All right, so we add these sugar beets to a water solution and boiling it over the coals here. We can strain out the solids and the water should have absorbed most of the sugar from the sugar beets. And then it's just a matter of slowly boiling it down to an actual syrup. Don't want to boil it too fast or too hot, otherwise it'll start to caramelize. We're after sugar and not caramel. Hopefully we don't get anything too caramely. So it's a little bit of a patience game of very slowly simmering it down. Then we can frost the flakes with our syrup. All right, so we got pretty well concentrated here now. Probably let it air dry the rest of the way with the residual heat so we don't caramelize it. Let's give it a taste. That's very sweet. Definitely sugar. It definitely has a kind of a lingering beet flavor to it, but I think this is gonna make a very good syrup. It's turning out pretty much black. I think that's just because it oxidized. It's probably only caramelized just a little bit from the outside edges, but otherwise I think it's turning out pretty good. I think it's gonna make some really good frosting for our flakes, despite it being black.
Okay, we have the syrup reduced and we're gonna frost the flakes. Oh my God, this looks awful. I see you coming for the milk, and I said that's not allowed. Uh-oh, I'm powerless. You want some flakes? Frosted. Well, finally finished the flakes. We're gonna bring Andy over here, set up with a little blind taste test. See if he can decide which are the real corn flakes. I bet he can't. Which one is it? Here comes the airplane. Okay, you can look.
Oh.
This was the first one that we made.
It's better than it looks, I think.
Oh, Daffyd's drinking the milk.
It's actually pretty good though.
I'm scared.
Definitely succeeded at making it sweet.
Yeah, it is sweet.
The flakes, not so much. They're more nougats.
They're kind of thick.
A little bit chewy.
Yeah, it's kind of grape nutty. Yeah, it just feels like something that you'd be eating because you want to be healthy. Definitely frosted. And it's sticking to the cereal. I thought it would just come off right away, but it is thoroughly frosted. Okay, so next time you want a good box of cereal, you can make it yourself. All you have to do is grow corn, sugar beets, harvest them both, smash them up, make a pot to reduce them in, and put them in a bowl and enjoy them. To make all this, it took 25 hours, and at minimum wage prices, that's about $315 for this bowl of cereal. It's a deal. If you want to see more behind the scenes stuff and just get to know more about me, you can follow me on Instagram.
Well, say both of our Instagrams. Say
No, only me. And also follow How to Make Everything. You gonna drink it? You gonna have a little bit? You thinking of? Ooh.
Thank you to all of our supporters on Patreon, and thanks for watching.
You like the flakes?
If you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe and check out other content we have covering a wide variety of topics. Also, if you've enjoyed these series, consider supporting us on Patreon. We are largely a fan-funded channel and depend on the support of our viewers in order to keep our series going. Thanks for watching.